in the spirit of my boy Thang Pham, sometimes you just got to cut through the. No, we want to pray before we do this podcast, guys. So let's do it, Lord. We just want to honor you. That's it. That's our simple prayer. We want to honor you in our conversation. We want to be of great value and help to somebody else. And we know that the oil that comes from crushing, that it is for the purpose of setting others free and just blessing your sheep and your people. And so we just thank you for this time. We thank you that you would lead everything that we say, everything that we ask, everything that we talk about, and just have your way. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen, amen, amen.
Amen.
Come
Amen,
on.
bro. Amen.
All right, my
Lord's
brothers.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm excited because this is not a conversation a lot of people have. And so first I just want to thank you, bro.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, for agreeing to bear your life open and to this is good, to bear your weakness so that others might be healed.
Amen.
I don't know if you have been a part of any like Christian fellowship. It is usually when somebody becomes really vulnerable that the doors open so that others can be truly vulnerable and healed. Yeah. And so that's the goal today is this. I think you agree when I say this. This is not about you. This is about somebody who's listening, who might need some encouragement and some Jesus love.
Yeah.
Through this podcast, right? So I want to ask you, bro, as we start. So just so you guys know, today we're going to be talking about being a Christian and going through divorce.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to be talking about. So I just want to open up, Thang, by asking you to walk us through today as we sit here, walk us through your story in the best way that you can. Maybe recap it. Of course, your story is filled with details and, a lot of different things. But, kind of where you're at today and where you've been to get to where you are today.
Okay. So I would say I'm in a season of my life where I am rebuilding my life. And, you spend so many years building with somebody else and now you are, I guess, building something new. And I think that's the whole point of the gospel, right? Like it's something new. And it's, I'm glad that I have God and I have Jesus walking me through this season. Also friends that love Jesus. So yeah, I mean, I am much happier today than I was a year ago. I always tell people I met the saddest version of myself and the happiest version of myself all within the same year.
Wow.
So I would say I'm much happier. I have a lot more joy. I wake up every morning with purpose. And despite my past, despite what happened, going back to what you're saying about hurt and healing and stuff, and I think that my healing process never really started until I realized I was hurt.
Come on.
You know what I mean? And when you realize that you're hurt and you were hurt by somebody that you genuinely loved. We both hurt each other, and I lived and pretended I wasn't hurt. I was like, no, I'm good, and it wasn't until you were just at the bottom and you realize, look, I can't keep pretending. That's when I realized that I was hurt, and I went to God and said, God, help. But yeah, so it was good, man. It was an experience that I think taught me a lot. Taught me that life isn't perfect. It isn't. It's a lot of ups and downs, and more downs than ups. But I went to God and said, God, help. And I never felt comforted like I did through this season. And it wasn't like God came out of nowhere and comforted me. It was people that God loved, that God sent to love me, you know, and people that carried my burdens. And, you know, I love Alejo more because of it. I love Rob more because of it. I love Juan more because of it. And isn't that what life is all about, though? Right? And we were talking about a well-lived life. And what is it? What is a well-lived life? Staying married? Great. You know, having kids? Great. I think a well-lived life is a life lived well-loved and loved well. And
It's good.
you know, I think that's what it's all about, right? Like, did you love well? And so, yeah, you know, I'm at a point in my life where people have shown me love and cared for me and, you know, pursued me and carried my burden. So, yeah, that was great. But, I mean, throughout the whole experience of you know, I was married for 4 years, but I've known her for 10 to 12 years.
Right.
But I was married for 4 years. In the beginning, it was great. It was like, you know, what you would picture. I think it was the last year where it kind of fell apart, and it happened, and it's all because of intimacy. Right? I was so focused on my business. I was so focused on what I wanted to accomplish that I wasn't able to give her my time. And we get so busy with life, right? And we make excuses like, okay, let me build this, and whenever this is done, we can start building a family inside of it. You know, and
Let's get there first.
let's get there first
And then live.
But God teaches us like, no, build in the house, and we're building outside of this house while your house is crumbling. You know what I mean? And so I'm pursuing what I thought was success. So I was pursuing, you know, businesses, and I made a lot of money, but I lost the greatest thing, you know. But that's So she we started to distant each other, kind of started separating. And it's funny because like it wasn't distance that separated us, it was silence. You know, and it was a lot of silence.
Wow.
It was a lot of silence.
What do you think? Because bro, you're saying so much good stuff. I almost want to ask you questions about what
I'm
you're
so
saying.
sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Go ahead.
So I want to ask you two questions. So the first is, you were talking about your business, and when I want to ask you when you realized that you'd spend too much time on your business, because it sounds like that's a relationship you have today. Like when that happened in the process. And then the second thing I wanted to ask you is, what do you think prolonged the silence? Right?
Yeah.
So the first, So
Great question. The second question is really good. First question, I didn't realize it until God was healing me.
So after you guys
it was
were
after separation, and that's what we and I would say men, you know, they're like, oh, everything is great, everything's amazing. Well, I don't understand. And then all of a sudden, did you know that divorces, 80% of divorces are initiated by women? Did you know that?
80%.
80%.
Wow.
It's a statistic. Look it up. 80% of divorces are initiated by women. And it's funny, bro, because I thought everything was great.
Yep.
Right? I thought everything was perfect. And even after the separation, I was like,
Why?
what? That doesn't make any sense. And then I didn't realize it until I started to allow God to really work in me, right? We learn through reflection, right? And we look back and we're like, man, I wasn't a great husband. Man, I didn't communicate. Man, I spent too much time building something that didn't matter. And I think my greatest, like one of the quotes that I live by, it's funny, is that my greatest fear is not failure, but succeeding in something that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And I spent my whole
Amen.
marriage trying to build something that at the end of the day doesn't matter. But yeah, so
And about the silence.
so it was much later. I would say October. You know, when she got her own place, I got my own place. We moved and separated. And that's when I realized, I was like, man, it's me.
Mm.
But your second question was,
How was the silence prolonged? So you said the distance was a silence distance. How was, because I'm sure what you mean is not that you didn't talk. I'm sure what you mean is that you didn't talk about things that mattered.
that's it.
And so what prolonged that?
A lot of things. I think when you are in a relationship with somebody where you're consistently messing up, right? I'm not saying who messed up or whatever, consistently messing up. It's hard to forgive them. And the reason why things weren't talked about was because it was no point. You're not going to forgive me for this, right? Why am I going to talk to you about something and ask for forgiveness when I know you're just going to get upset?
It's like giving up before the fight.
Yeah, it's you give up, and what's the point? Share my feelings and say I'm sorry, and I'm gonna become a better person.
Yeah.
But so I think I felt like I wasn't going to be forgiven, so why bother? And that caused distance. And how many times when you done something wrong towards somebody and you're like, I'm not gonna talk to them about it. I'm not going to share anything about it. I'm not going to tell them. I'm not going to go up to them and say, I'm sorry. What's the point?
So do you think it's an edge of guilt that you were feeling, or do you think
Was
it's
it
an
guilt?
edge of the fear of the vulnerability, of the hurt? Because it's almost like there's the guilt of it, but then there's also the fear of what is going to be the repercussion of whenever I share this.
No,
Or do you think
no.
it was no?
It was. I wasn't. I felt guilty, and I was willing to pay the cost of what the aftermath was. There was no point.
Almost like there was not going to be an end in sight.
I mean, I've asked for forgiveness. I'm the person that I would be the first to apologize. And it was something that you consistently do, and you're like, at this point, it doesn't matter.
So am I hearing you say that it was done so repeatedly
Yeah.
that
yeah.
eventually, even in your eyes, your asking for forgiveness didn't count for
Yeah.
much?
So I'll say this so that we have some context. Think
Yeah.
I'm like
Yeah.
cheating on her
No,
or something.
no.
It was just consistently focusing on things that did not matter. It was me always chasing. Always chasing.
And consequently, probably some neglect in your relationship.
Neglected. I mean, I should have taken her out on more dates. I should have initiated time to talk about things, about relationships and issues and things that she was hurt about and this. And I think that I didn't do that. I didn't tend that. And I was always chasing, and I would come back tired.
Would you say, bro, that... So I find something that most men have is the drive to chase. But a lot of men have a hard time, and I include myself here, with the drive to maintain. Right?
Yeah.
Like you attain the goal, and it's a good sprint, right? But then when it comes to that daily tending,
Yeah.
it's like you go by the plant, but watering it every day is tough.
Yeah. Like, for example, if Christopher Columbus, I don't care what you think that is, if he never settled, we would have never had this.
No.
Right? If he consistently chased, we would never, America would have never happened. Right? I think that's the same thing in relationships. Like, you get into a marriage for what? To settle, to build. And we can talk about the greatest country in the world. The greatest country in the world is America. I think. I don't care. It's America. We have so many rights, so many privileges.
So blessed.
But this would have never happened if we've never settled. And I think that that's the same thing with marriage. It's, if it's not your wife that you're pursuing and chasing, then it's dreams and businesses and money and success. And I think there's so many marriages that are broken because men are still pursuing and still chasing, right? And it's funny because when we pursue God, what does God tell us to do? Love your wife. But if you pursue business, what does business and money and tell you to do? Get more.
Yeah.
More.
Yep.
There's always more money. There's
Chase
always
the win.
more success.
Yep. Always.
So I think that I should have spent more time building a deeper, intimate relationship with my ex. Yeah, for sure.
So what are some of those things that, looking back, you know, you mentioned take her out on dates. You mentioned, you know, talk more life. What are some of those things that you feel like, just looking back, other than what I would call the practical? What are some of the spiritual things that you feel like maybe you could do better, or could encourage someone now in their marriage that they could be doing as a husband right now with their spouse?
What you're planning to also to do when you you know.
Yeah, so don't get it twisted. Like when you think of spiritual, you think church,
right?
Serving in church, ministry, and all that stuff. And I'll tell you this, that's what I did. I wasn't pursuing business in the beginning. It was church. We planted a church. I was serving at church. I was preaching at church. It was always church ministry. And even that hurt our marriage, right? We're ingrained to chase and build. And God constantly says, love your wife.
Relationship.
Go back, connect.
Intimacy.
Connect. Love your wife. Love your wife. And I think when I talk about spiritual things, I think you want to hear something, bro? One of the greatest spiritual thing that you can ever do is to love your wife.
Come on.
You know what I mean? And I think, what does that look like? Listening. Growing, talking, laughing, hanging out. I think those are all the things that I did not do enough. I did, but I didn't do enough.
Can I ask you a question about that, bro? Because I feel like, so if you're anything like me, I procrastinate the tasks that are the hardest for me. I procrastinate the decisions that take me the most effort, right? So if you're in sales, for example, you know, you'll procrastinate making the cold calls, you know, because that's where the biggest no's are hidden. Yeah. And so I wonder, and I want to ask you, was there something about, like now looking back and after all the work you've been doing, because like some people, I'm sure you're okay with me sharing that you've been going to therapy and you've been learning about yourself and healing, you know, so that you can move forward. And so was there a part of that intimacy? So this is something I've always known about you, Thang. Making money for you is very easy.
I'm rich, baby.
Like I've always known that. Like if I had to put trust in like you making money or me making money, like I'll be like send Thang, like right. So I know that's easy for you to do. I know work is like an easy thing where you can invest. Yeah. I would imagine, knowing you, that relationally, that's probably where it takes you more work and more effort.
I'll say this. I'll say this. Yes. Making money, it does come easy for me because I can put business aside. I can put relationship aside and just focus on business. I think that a lot of times people fail in business because they put business and relationship together and there's just so much feeling in this. And I'm like, okay, well, we need to make money. I feel what you're feeling, but that doesn't matter. Let's just focus on this. And I think that's how I was able to.
It's matter of fact.
Matter of fact. But I would trade. You ready? I would trade what I can do, what you think is great, for what you can do, Alejo. Like, out of anybody that I know, and I think anybody that listens to your podcast know that you have such a great way to connect with people. And it's as if you really believe what you say. We live in a day and age where people in business, they say things and you know they're just saying it to get something. They're saying it. Do they really believe? And I think that for you, Alejo, and I've known this about you, I can trust what you say. And there are times where I'm like, that's too good to be true. And there's no way he believes that. And he does. He does. And there's this power that you have that you don't realize, that like I feel secure, trust, like I know you will love me despite who I am and what I've become. And I think that's something that says a lot about you. And I would trade what I know and what I can do for what you have. Being able to connect and love. And I see it, bro. Every time I talk to you, I'm like, yo, like It's so easy.
Mm-hmm.
When you know that there's no judgment, there's no plan, or there's no like alternative motive or whatever. It's like, yo, he is what he is.
Thank you, bro. I think you have that too, though, and
Yeah.
it's a reason why people flock to you. You know, people don't flock to you because you're a matter of fact. People flock to you because you are welcoming and you care. And I will say, like the way we care about people is different. Like I don't think so. Knowing you as my boy, right?
Yeah.
You are the best at caring for your boys. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because you know how. And the reason why I was asking you that question about like your relationship is because I wonder if during that season you just didn't know how to care for that part. Does that make sense? Again, going back to the hardest tasks are the ones we do last or we delay the most. I wonder if, and I'm sure there are things like something that you told me in the season is that you've been trying to master the ability to just be friends, like to actually have friendship with a woman, right? And to just have that safe friendship, right? And so my follow-up question with that is, are there skills you have been working on now that maybe would have helped you do that work back then, that you've been maybe working on or that you become aware of? Like,
Yeah. That's a great question. So yeah, it's true. I would say I'm not great, but I've learned to, with all this like toxic masculinity and all this stuff that's like being pushed out, and like it's crazy. Women are viewed as objects and like achievements and all these things. And I think that even with the whole Barbie movie, which I want to watch, I want to check it out. You know what I mean? Because not because of what's the media saying. I just want to check it out because I think that, but going back to what you're saying about my relationship with women now is it's funny, bro, because I never saw women the way that I see women now.
and how's that?
When I used to see them, it was like every person was going to be my wife. Like anybody that I'm attracted to, I'm going to get married. I'm going to get married. Like she's going to be my wife. She's going to bear my kids. We're going to, it's always like that level of intimacy that I want with that person. Now it's like
there aren't any other options with women other than relationship. Like,
relationship. And now every single person that I meet, it's like, you're cool. You're great. You're smart. I like you as a person. Let's be friends. And it's something that I don't think I would have been able to get to if it wasn't for God teaching me that, this is his daughter, and that we are created for unity, and it's not just men uniting or women uniting, it's women and men uniting, and learning how to navigate that. And I'm learning that a lot, and I'm meeting women, and we're just friends, and it's weird for them too. They're like, what is this?
you don't want to
I'm like, no, bro, I'm chilling.
Legit, just, hey, how you doing?
Yeah. And I have friends that would be like, why aren't you dating this girl? I'm like, why am I not? Why does it have to be
always
me
dating?
that?
Yeah.
It's why can't I just be friends with them? Without you assuming that I want to be in a relationship with them.
Yeah.
So, but there are girls that I do want. Like there have been girls that I've actually did want to pursue more. It's learning boundaries, learning how far to let them in, and what to share and what not to share.
That's good, bro.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that
So much wisdom in that.
yeah, that's in anybody. Like if I were to hang out with you and your wife, there's certain things that I'm not going to ask your wife. That is your wife.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I think that I think men need to be taught that. Like,
It's just
this is
your
there's
box.
there's certain things you don't cross.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you're not going to share intimate things.
Yeah.
For with because those are things that you don't, you just you learn. I'm learning still.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So,
Mm.
I don't think I would never. I don't think I would ever have gotten there if it wasn't for what happened in my relationship.
Right.
So I wish I can take this and apply it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I wish that I would have learned to not try to tell her what to do after she shares things with me. You
Try
know?
to fix it.
That's
Fix
every
things.
man, bro. Oh my god,
Dude, you know how many times I've sat there and just listened to a girl tell me about her problems, and I'm like,
A B C D.
they just want to be heard,
right?
You know, and you're just like,
bro.
oh, I'm so sorry that you
Yeah.
feel that way.
Yeah.
You know, I'm so sorry that hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like become their best friend and like, oh my God, she did that. But I don't say it just to say it. I genuinely do care.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
No, she didn't.
no, she didn't.
She did. I'm gonna,
You know,
I'm gonna slap her.
Yeah. And then even I know in my head, dang, you deserve that.
Let me ask you this.
or let me give you the A to Z plan that will get you out of this
Yeah,
problem.
yeah,
So,
But I don't just, I always say like, you know,
Yeah,
you think
yeah.
that was a good thing for you to
Yeah.
do, you know? So I don't try to tell people what to do. Men, I do, right?
do you mind if I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So on that, so looking back on your marriage and then taking your steps forward. So it sounds like you're starting to take steps in the things, and this may be real personal. And you know, I you can say no, but taking the steps from where you were in your marriage and now in your dating scene,
Yeah.
right? Because this is something I would struggle with personally. If I put myself into your shoes with where I am with my wife and all that stuff, and I put myself literally in your seat, all of this, how are you dealing with at least again, me, how are you dealing with the guilt of, I didn't do this with her, but I'm trying to do this with them? How are you walking with the Lord with that in your personal relationship of, okay, I struggled here, but I want to be better. But if we look at that, there is a middleman, which is the feeling of, I still did that. And how can I pursue this person if I'm feeling, at least that's how I would feel and how I have felt with my wife at different times, where I feel like I've struggled, man, God, I battled in this for the past year with her. And now how is this person? How am I not going to treat her the same? So that middle aspect of, how are you walking with the Lord now to continue to become the person that you feel like in the future will be? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. So faith. Faith. I trust the Lord will do what he has to do in my life. I do not put anything on me. You know, I hope,
good, bro. Come
you
on.
know, faith, bro, God, you know what I mean? I trust God, bro. If I were to trust me, best believe I would be a womanizer. I would be a thief. I would be those things people will never get.
No, they'll never guess. So sorry, y'all.
You know,
So
I would
sorry.
be a womanizer. I would be a thief. I'll be a horrible person. I think God teaches you through those things, right? Those things happen, and God teaches you, and you're like, I'm gonna chisel that, you know. And I think that because I trust God, I'm walking by faith, and I'm hoping that the next person I meet, I'm a better man. I'm more like Jesus. I'm more like the man that I don't know. So yeah, Jesus.
Yeah. It's I guess the question in me is like what are some of the practical things you're dealing with the man in the mirror?
Okay.
What are some of those practical things in this right now? Like, I know obviously you're praying. I know you're reading.
Yeah.
Like, you're reading the word. I know you're
Okay.
surrounding yourself with some people. I know you have a counsel. You know, it's like things like the Lord has determined certain things. But what are some of the things that if someone was to say, man, I don't know how to right now, what is one practical step that I could deal with me, the man in the mirror that I see every day,
To walk forward and
to walk forward and to not see myself in the image of past.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. That's easy.
Okay.
That's an easy answer. Don't give up meeting with people that love you. You know what I mean? What I mean by love is, of course, love is patient, love is kind. But one of my favorite lines in that is, love holds no records of wrong. And I think that my brothers, my friends that love me to death can look at my life and say, what did you do? Come on. You know, you didn't do anything wrong. I have no record of that. You are made new in Christ. And I think that when you hang out with these people consistently, they say that over you. And if anybody's ever going through something and they struggle with their past, what they've done, I promise you, when you hang out with people that love you, all that disappears.
I want to ask you, Thang, like how you identify that somebody loves you. Because I feel like the no record of wrongs part, it comes hard for Christians because we have a hard time being not self-righteous at times. And so I get that. And when a Christian can walk in that is really beautiful. But in many ways, it also resembles the way people that don't know Jesus might support you, right? Like who might, just say, hey, bro, it's cool, whatever. But how does a Christian brother love you? You know what I'm saying?
So,
in every sense of the word.
Perfect. They forgive fast. They forgive fast. There's no greater joy for me to share with my brothers, like, man, I did this. And they're like, dang. And not even like 10 minutes later, we're cracking jokes again. There's this sense of forgiveness, and not only forgiving, but walking you through it, and helping you. So for me, the reason why I think a lot of people are attracted to me that are not Christian is because I'm so forgiving.
Yeah.
Like I understand what you did, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of things people do, and I'm like, it's cool, bro. We'll walk through it. We'll deal with it. We'll laugh about it. We'll joke about it. But let's get better. That I think forgiving fast is great.
So how do you determine? You mentioned you got your boys, right? You mentioned without the people.
Does that
in
answer
your
the
life.
question though?
Yeah, no, that's good, bro.
Yeah.
That's good. I like the part where you said because we crack jokes about stuff that we shouldn't joke about, right? And the reason why I learned this from Thang all the time is that it just lets the pressure out of the ball a little bit. It's just like
Life is already so filled.
You can't ignore or get past the fact that you just got to go through that difficult thing anyway.
Yeah.
So why not laugh in the face of it anyway? So you'll make jokes that I'm like, bro, shut up.
Yeah.
But what I love about what you said too is that focus on getting better. One thing I know about you, Thang, is that you are the kind of friend who doesn't you'll go in on somebody with the truth if they need to hear it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
As forgiving as you are, you'll also be like, bro,
Yeah. Yeah.
we're better than that.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? And it's like, and I think that's, first of all, that's a really hard tension for brotherhood to live in, because sometimes
There, I would say this. There's one time I share a quick example. It was one time I was hanging out with my boys, and he was doing some stuff. Like he was with some girl, some whatever. And he was doing some stuff. I'm like, bro, you tripping, And I know he's Christian. And this one kid came up and he was like, oh man, what's up? Like he knows that I was a pastor, so he knows I'm Christian. He's like, oh man, what are y'all Christian guys doing out here? Oh no, I'm Christian. He's not. But like, he's not. He's not. Not even close. And he was like,
And you said that about your boy. Wow.
he's like, wait, hold on. Hold on. And he
I
had
thought I was wearing the jersey.
he had a necklace. He had a necklace that said "Child of God," and I was like, "Bro, where'd you get that necklace, bro?" And then I went in. I was like, "Bro, like that's not what I'm just saying." So like,
Based off
we
fruit.
joke about it,
Right.
And I'm like, "Bro, he's not. No, he's not."
and just like every
But-
joke, there's a little bit of truth.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. So we joke.
yeah.
I go in, but it's something that I'm sure he reflected on. Afterwards, he doesn't go to church anymore because of that. But But yeah, no, I do because it's truth. It
grace and
regardless,
truth.
it still
Yeah, come on.
cuts the heart.
So how do you decide who to be vulnerable with, right? Because those intimate relationships, your boys, right? And even in that, you mentioned it a couple times of the relationship, the equity that you have in that person, how you're going to talk with them. They're quick to forgive, like in that world. in the vulnerability, how do you decide as you're walking through this journey? How do you decide, all right, I need to be so vulnerable with this person, and maybe this person might be leading me away from the Lord or leading me away from the result, the fruit that I'm longing for, right? Like I'm longing to produce love or peace or joy, patience, fruit of the Spirit, whatever the fruit that you're trying in your life. You surround yourself, your 5 closest friends, show me your 5 closest friends, I'll show you your future, right? And all in that world, like how do you decide those people to be vulnerable with?
Yeah, bro. And kind of going off of that question, because I feel like I kind of know, I might know the answer to that question. Like you just like, you've known certain people for like a good amount of time. You have a good understanding of like where to deposit that. But I want to ask you a retrospective question too about that. Because I feel like as a Christian person who is going through divorce, like that's got to be a hard thing to share. So speaking of vulnerability, right? And like being in the trenches of like something being very hard with your marriage and all that stuff. I know that there is no book that will tell you, hey, Thang, this is the right time to share with this person, right? Or, hey, married couple, whenever you hit this difficult time, this is when you want to bring somebody in. I want to ask you about, in retrospect, as you look at the past, do you feel like there is, for somebody listening, that there is a way in which you either wish or you would have gone back and been vulnerable with where you guys were at? Does that make sense? Not so much now, but like back then.
Yeah.
How would you have handled it now that you're,
knowing what I know
back?
now?
Yeah.
I felt like I was pretty vulnerable and open.
Okay.
Like I said earlier, I didn't really know until it was too late.
Yeah.
I started opening up more, and you have friends. You have friends that that will forgive you. It starts with like, how do you know when to be vulnerable with somebody? I think it's a process, right? I think I think everyone deserves for you to be a little bit open with them.
Yep.
And when they can take care of that, you start opening up more. I always tell people, I don't care how many friends you have. I care about how long you've been friends, right? If you have friends that you've been friends with for 10, 12, 13, 14, 15 years, it says a lot.
Absolutely.
It says that you're loving, forgiving, and you work through things, right? So there are certain things that I would only be vulnerable with Alejo,
Yep.
and I wouldn't with somebody new. So I think that those are things that you build up to.
Yeah.
But going back to what you're saying, if I were to go back and done something different, I don't think I would have done anything different. I think what happened, and I wish I would have realized it a lot sooner.
Because you don't know what you don't know.
I wish I would have. I wish I would have learned this earlier. But I don't think I would have ever learned it if I didn't go through it. But also, I think if you live in an open life and you have people that are married that are going through the same thing, I think community helps.
That's where I was going to
solve a
ask
lot
you
of
too.
things. I think community helps solve a lot of things. That's why God constantly tells us, "Hey, keep on meeting up. We have ears, we have mouths, we have eyes for what?
Yep.
To hear, listen, and see."
Speak, yeah.
And so I think that's the point of this. It's all community talking and what, she did that? Dang, this, that. And then like you talk through things and you guide, so I think I wish I would have realized it earlier. I would have probably opened up to you or Rob or somebody much sooner. But as soon as I felt like, man, I'm hurt, I need somebody to talk to, I called you guys immediately. I'm like, yo, I'm going through this. But yeah, it's I don't think it's tough for me to be open.
That's one thing. Since I've known you, you're one of the most vulnerable men that I know.
Yeah.
Like you're just real.
Yeah.
And I mean, like ever since the day I met you, you're just who you are. And that's why I believe people want to be around you. And you hit it at a couple of times. Like you're just a real person. And when the world sees that, they're like, something's different about you. Yeah, I'm not fake. I'm just real.
Yeah.
And that's in this entire journey of a bystander. Like someone that's been on the outside watching how the Lord has been walking you through and healing you and seeing how you've handled your life and everything from this point. Like what I've seen from Thang is a man that's just vulnerable in all things that he does. Vulnerable to a fault. You know, like you said, like sometimes you share too much or you joke too much. But I'd rather have a friend or a person. I'd rather know someone that is too honest to a fault than someone that I feel like I have to break down a wall for them to share their heart.
That's so good.
I'd rather have that friend that sometimes you're like, bro, you ain't supposed to share that. You're supposed to talk about that, you know, or just then someone that is does not want anyone in.
But it's those are hurt people, right?
Yeah.
They don't want anybody in because they're hurt. They've gone through a lot.
Yep.
I think our hearts are buried beneath the rubble, the trauma, and our hearts are all deep in there, and
So
we
good, bro.
hide, you know, behind all of that.
Yeah.
And I think that
And sometimes we don't even know.
No. Like you said, you felt blind. Like you were like, wait a minute. I'm good. Like it was this blind moment. And then whenever the Lord almost peeled back a veil, almost gave you eyes to see, because half the time when we're doing something or we're living in something, you have no idea.
Yeah.
You're like, what do you mean? Like, what are you talking about? I wasn't doing. And it's like God just like hit a rewind, you're like, and like shows you the conversation from the far, and you're like, oh wow, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like I've just that, and that's where it comes to repentance, and that comes to where all of that life, like,
So it takes somebody to be vulnerable for them to open up, right?
Right.
Like going back to what I just said, which is, you know, our hearts are buried beneath the aftermath of our past, and I think that when you meet somebody that's gone through the same thing, that went through the same thing, and they're just open, they're gonna start to open up. And I think there's so much beauty when you're vulnerable.
Amen.
You know, you just like, I have a bunch of trash in the back. You know, I have a bunch of luggage. I have a bunch of stuff. You know, I tell people, you know, when I talk to people, I tell them, oh yeah, my dad died. Like he's really dead. You know, they're like laugh about it, and I share like my past. And I share that you know, I
That's
share,
what you would want me to do.
That's literally what Thang would do.
That's what I mean when he says jokes that you're like,
my
bro.
gosh. Like,
you know.
oh yeah.
But I'm healed. I'm healed from all of that.
Yeah.
You know, and how do you know you're healed is you can smile about it. You know, you can smile about your trauma. You can smile about, you know, I've been through that, but I'm a better person. So,
And I feel like what I love about you, because this is what I remember the first time I met him. I remember you talking about your father.
yeah.
And I literally, on the way home, I was like, bro, I didn't know what to do. But like, you know what's crazy? And that alone,
Bro,
that
you
snip.
are a master of making people feel so
but no,
uncomfortable.
what I love about it is
Yeah.
this. Now knowing you is exactly what you said is you're actually in a place of healing, not in facade joking.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's times where people like me, that I can be in a facade joking manner where I'll joke about something, but I'm not healed. I'm actually not joyful. I'm actually not happy. I'm actually not okay.
I think Thang can do both.
Well, but what I
think
mean is
Thang does both.
which we, you know, we've talked about that personally, but like
Yeah.
like on that moment when I met you, like why I felt like, wow, this dude's like, he was hurt and he's healed, but it's a joyful, like, you know, my dad's still good. Like, my dad was amazing, and I can joke in the manner of my father, you know, and be in joy.
Yeah.
And yet I feel like sometimes people hide behind that too. Obviously, people hide in that. But what I love about you is in this season, what I saw more than anything in this destination that you're in as you're driving through it, is I've seen a man that's able to joke in the way of his healing process, not in the destruction of everything that's happened, but like you joke around, you laugh about things, but like you're always just moving forward.
Yeah.
Well, joking's so healing, right? Like I feel like, because
Is
I
it?
was gonna say, like,
Yeah.
Tang will joke about stuff that he's still really hurt about,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
and it's okay, because like we all cope different, right? Like we all,
That's how I cope, is
Yeah.
making jokes,
Yeah.
man. I remember
it's actually a
early-
form of unvulnerability.
Yeah.
Yeah,
as well, right?
It is.
Yeah.
That's how I hide.
Yeah.
Is by joking. When I
Yeah.
feel like we're getting a little too close, I'll joke. You know, I'm
I'm
not.
sorry, I'm just picturing Parks and Rec. My boy Ron, this is when someone gets a little too chummy, I start calling them by the wrong name. It's like,
Nah, that's me.
It's
That's
like,
me.
hey, Aaron, how you doing, buddy?
I would joke. There's so many times
Yeah.
where I would share a testimony about something, and I was just like, I'll make a joke, and people will be like, okay. Like now they don't know if they should laugh or not.
Right? You're like, got him.
Because I got it.
You know,
bro.
many times I've been like, I was like, yo, let me early on when my dad died and stuff. I was like, they were like, yeah, I'm like, let me call my dad. I'm like, I can't, because he's dead.
He used to say
people-
this stuff, and then he'll just
He'll
look
just
at us straight in
stare
the
at
face,
you,
be like,
yeah.
bro, stop. But what it is, bro, this is so good. So I heard Lady Gaga say, if I can scare them before, like if I can scare them coming in, I don't have to be afraid of them scaring me later on.
That's so good.
And so I think I just heard it that when you make other people uncomfortable with humor, if you're not healed about something yet, it's because you're uncomfortable. So you want to make everybody else more uncomfortable, so
Then
that
you're-
you're actually the least uncomfortable person in the room.
Yeah.
Is that what I do? I think so.
100%.
Yeah, that's what I do. Yeah, no,
Which now you got Rob doing it too, because Rob's dad passed as well,
Yeah.
and now he'll be like, now you guys like gang up against all of us.
My dad's
saying-
dead, and then Rob was like, "Yeah, me too."
and they were like, bro.
Can y'all stop?
But I do want to ask you,
Yeah.
bro, because I feel like something that's really really interesting about vulnerability. We've talked so much about vulnerability. And you know what's so interesting about you, bro? You are the most vulnerable person and the least vulnerable person I know.
Oh my god!
All at the same
I
time.
hear that all the time.
It's like you will let somebody into the inner courts of some parts of your heart that I go, I don't even know how to do that
Yeah.
with somebody. Yet at the same time, there are other courts that are like safely guarded, and you're like, you're gonna stay on the outer courts
Yeah.
for this, right? And it's so interesting. The reason why I think that's so interesting is because I think most of us are like that. I think we have different rooms that are important to us, and there are some rooms we feel more secure letting people into because we don't mind them seeing what's in there.
Yeah.
And then there are other rooms that we heavily guard, right? And so, for example, like for me, like my emotional maturity is taking me more work to deal with father figures or authority, right? Not so much with relationships because I grew up with my mom. And so I learned to relate to women very early on and to learn to understand the power gap in between. Like I'm a stronger physical person, yet I have to treat you with gentleness so I have to master that, right? But then there are other places of my life where I don't want you to touch those. I don't want you to get in there, right? And so with you, I feel the very same way. Like I see you and I'm like, I feel like there are some conversations, bro, where we could freaking cry here, right?
Yeah.
And then there are some other questions that I've known you 13 years or places, and you'd be like, that's good, like
Yeah.
that far, right? And so I want to ask you, in your process of, actually first before I move on, would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay. What are some things about Thang's lack of vulnerability, those rooms that you don't want people to walk into, that maybe affected your marriage, that you have learned about in your therapy or in your retrospect,
Yeah.
about the places where maybe if you would have had less of a guard,
If I was a little bit more open about that.
yeah, about those rooms, whatever they are.
Great. I think for me, it's easy to be vulnerable because I believe that vulnerability shows a level of strength, right? So the way that I see it, it's like the more vulnerable I am, the more, I'm stronger, and it's like it's not weak. It's not weak to cry. It's not
The more
weak
control
to
you're over
open.
your emotions, if you're in control enough to share them,
Yeah.
then you
Correct.
must be really in control. Yeah.
But there are things that if I did share, it will make me look weak and feel weak.
And probably the feeling weak is probably the hardest
Yeah.
one, right?
So there are things I don't share because it makes me feel weak, and it's even talking about it and thinking about it, right? I mean that's all of us, right? We share things when we overcome it.
We talked about this
Come on.
recently.
Yeah,
Right.
we literally
I struggled
talked about
with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I struggle with that.
But share it while you're going through it.
yeah.
You know, so
Share the blood.
Let me say this. We can probably close with this. And this is write this down. This is good.
Tweet this. I'm ready. Or,
Right.
sorry,
Hey,
X
record
this.
it.
Listen to this. Reaching out, the way to reach out, right, should look like reaching up.
Say
You
that
know what I'm
again.
saying? Reaching out should look like reaching up
I know what you mean.
because you need help,
Come on.
right? You're reaching up, right? And I think that we don't do that.
We don't like that.
We love reaching down. We love reaching down. We
Come
don't
on,
like
bro.
reaching up.
We even like reaching beside us.
Yeah.
Because like, oh, you're right here with me.
You're going through
right
this
here.
with me?
Hey, come on.
But it's,
come on, we got
but
this.
it's, I think that I'm vulnerable with people that are going through the same thing. I'm easy reaching here or reaching down. But when it comes to like reaching up and saying, I need help, I think that's where I struggle. And I think that's the part where it makes me feel weak.
I think that's most men. I just feel like that's most
so
humanity.
good, bro.
Bro, tweet
The music.
that. Write that down.
Yeah, you know,
Dude.
So
That's so good.
reaching
So
up,
good.
reaching up,
So
and
good.
you know, that's what kids do. Babies do. All they do is reach up.
All they do.
That's what short kings do. What?
Me, bro.
You know, but yeah, no, I think that's where most men struggle with.
Yeah.
It's reaching up. It's like, man, I'm the man of the house.
Right. I'm a leader.
I'm a leader.
Come on, man.
You know, we're great at reaching down, helping. We're amazing.
Having advice.
Yeah.
Giving advice. Oh my God.
Fixing the problems
You're so good.
for our spouses
You
and
know?
the people. And
But reaching up, baby, is something we don't do.
Wow.
And it's funny because we're in church raising our hands. We're in church doing all these things that look like we're reaching out for God. We're reaching up. But I think that nah, bro, it's one of the hardest things to do. It's like, hey, I surrender. Isn't it funny, bro? Like everything.
surrender.
It's like
everything is surrender.
Yeah,
That's exactly
you know,
what the
so-
Lord was putting in me as you said that. Like, I feel like we're just afraid of surrender.
Yeah.
Like even the moments of surrendering. Hey, I don't know how to do that. That's surrender. Hey, I don't know how to handle this situation. Surrender. Hey, I don't know how to get out of this addiction. Hey, I don't know how to love this person this way. I don't know how to forgive this person that was dealing with that. Like it's a surrender. And I feel like as men, it's almost like since we were children, I don't know, but like just as you watch videos or whatever it is, if everything is indoctrinating us that surrender is evil.
Yeah.
That when you surrender, when you give up your will to give someone else power over your life, that's the most, no, don't do that. That's the most unmanly thing you can do because men take charge.
Yeah.
Men take control.
figure things out.
They figure things out. And I've said that. I'm a figure outer. Like I'm like, put it in my hands, I'm gonna figure it out. And I very solemnly will be like, okay, bro, I don't know how to do this. Like, because I just want to figure it out.
There are some things you can't figure yourself out of.
Yes. You can't process yourself. You can't dream out of.
Because you don't know
Come
what
on,
the
man.
other person knows.
Come on.
Yeah. I want to ask you, who do you reach up to
Who do you reach up to
in your life?
There are a few like pastors that I trust.
And are you really open and like vulnerable?
No.
And you know what's funny? I used to have a lot of pastors that I'd reach up to.
Yeah.
And in the past 3-4 years, it's been a lot less. Like, man, I had so specific. This person was in my marriage. This person was in this person. And I had many reaching up. And then they all transitioned and I transitioned from a different season. So reaching up has been so different for me. And that's a great question.
I want to ask you a question as we end. Bro, I just want to ask you to give somebody some encouragement.
Okay.
So somebody at any point of this journey that let's say actually a person that is already separated. Okay? Because we got to have some sort of audience, right?
Yeah.
So a person that's already separated where you are, what would you tell that man or that woman and end us out here?
Okay, so I would share this to a person that is going through divorce and they feel like it's the end, right? And they don't know what to do. They're confused. Hope. Do not lose hope. That's one thing that I held on to. And throughout my whole divorce is that there is hope. There is hope. And believe it. Believe it. There is hope. You've heard the story about the Holocaust, right? About how these, the people at the Holocaust, the people that made it out. And they were asked, how did you make it out while others didn't? The ones that didn't gave up eating because they lost hope. So the ones that made it out were struggling with crumbs. They were like, we will get out. There is hope. Someone's going to come save us. And I think that for anybody that's going through anything, just do not lose hope. Do not lose hope, because there are so many times where I did.
Bro, I heard somebody tell me a guy, my buddy Tim, was at the gym. And I guess he was doing some reps, right? He was working out, pushing, like doing some shoulder presses. And this super buff guy comes over and he's like, come on, give me 4 more. So Tim's doing 1, 2.
Yeah.
And the third one, he closes his eyes. And he goes, don't you close your eyes? He's like, when people close their eyes, they give up. And like what I'm hearing you say is that when you have hope, you keep your eyes open for the way out. If you give up, if you lose hope, your eyes are closed and you're not going to see when God provides the way out, you know? And
So true.
I would imagine that for you, there have been hard days where you are eating crumbs. There have been days where you're a little bit in better spirits. There are days where you're on the mountaintop and you're like, I feel great today. But in all those days, the common thing has been your eyes are open to see what the Lord is providing. It reminds me of Elijah when the sparrows would come to feed him, right? And it's like, I mean, who knows how much they fed him, but it was enough.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, bro, I love you, man. Super encouraged and excited.
Do you mind if I share the scripture
Yes,
really quick?
do it.
The scripture that
Read it out
that I
and
heard
close
is
it.
from Proverbs 13, verse 12. It says, hope deferred makes a heart sick, but when a desire is fulfilled, it is a tree of life. And yeah, just keep the hope. Keep hope. So good, Thang.
Yeah.
So
And,
good. Close this out, boy.
Okay, so I want to say one thing, and this is like my verse throughout the whole entire marriage or my divorce and stuff, and it's the passage of Lazarus, right? When Lazarus died, and Mary and Martha was like, Jesus, come before it's too late. Come before it's too late. And what did Jesus say? I'm gonna wait until it's too late.
Yep.
Right? He said, I'm going to wait until it's too late.
It's the story.
And
But why?
so when you're going through what you're going through, know that it is for the glory of God. Even when you feel like it's too late. Even if you feel like you're 50 and you're going through a divorce and nobody's going to want you. Even if you feel like you're broken and there's no way of restoring and it's already too late. Let me tell you, when Mary and Martha realized that Lazarus is dead and there is no point of return, the reason why Mary and Martha was like, you need to make it here before 3 days.
Come on.
Because the Jewish belief was that even if it's 3 days, there's still a chance of resurrection.
Yep.
Because they believe that after 3 days, the body leaves, the soul leaves the body.
Yep.
And Jesus, I'm going to wait for the 4th day.
4th day.
And Jesus comes and he says, what? He says, where is he at?
Stinky.
And resurrects this man
Come
on the 4th day. And I think that doesn't matter what you're going through. If you're going through a divorce, if you're going through a loss, whatever you're going through, it is not too late. And if it is too late, then you're good. You are so good because it is for the glory of God. And he is the greatest storyteller. Right? You can write your own stories.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, if God wrote it and God's writing it right now, it's gonna go crazy.
That
He's
author
gonna
and
finish it.
perfecter. Come on,
Right.
the
He's
author
the-
and perfecter of our faith.
Yeah.
Come on. Come on.
So don't lose hope. Mary and Martha lost hope. Right? And Jesus wept and was like, yo, I thought you loved me. I thought you knew who I was. And Jesus looks at Mary and Martha and is like, I thought you knew me. Did you forget that I am God and I can do all things? And he resurrects Lazarus and he's like, I am what? The life. I am what you need.
And who was with him? Who followed him?
Tell me.
It was the Jewish, the
Oh, yeah,
teachers.
yes, the teachers.
They followed him
Yeah.
because they saw him weeping. They
Correct.
said, man, we got to go with him to comfort.
Yeah.
And little did they know in that moment that they encountered the
Yeah.
man of life because he brought life out of death.
Correct.
Because he waited.
Yeah.
Those Jewish people were saved.
Yeah. It's all for the
Come on.
story.
It's
all
for the glory of
story.
God.
It's all for the
Come
glory
on.
of
It's
God.
also
Come
why
on.
they wanted to kill him after, but we'll
Yeah.
hit that a different time.
But
We
yeah,
ain't
so
got
there's
time for
hope. There's hope. And when
on.
it feels like it's too late, you're in the right place.
So good.
And for me, I felt like it was too late. And I was like, God, there's no way in restoring this marriage. And what God was doing is much greater. So what is the end of all this? You know, I don't know. I might be married, have kids, and I'll tell this story. And people will be like, man, there's hope.
Come on.
But no, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I'm still Christian. I still love Jesus.
So follow the way. Come on.
I went through some stuff with him, you know, but it's all part of the journey. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, bro.
Well, hey, thank you, Prolific Podcast, for joining us. Once again, Thang, thank you for the blessing. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the wisdom. Thank you for just your story. Thank you for being so vulnerable and real with us on a recording. We're blessed, man.
Let's
Thank
go
you.
get some lunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm down.
Ready?
All right. Let's
All
do
right,
it.
peace.
Peace.